All right, I think we can get started. Welcome everyone, and thanks for coming to today's workshop. As always, a big thank you to Kaylee Williams and Iman Hussein from Brown Advance-CTR for getting these and all the other REDCap offerings on the books and scheduled. My name is Jeff Richardson. I'm the data coordinator in the Lifespan Biostatistic Epidemiology and Research Design and Informatics Core. And I'm also a REDCap administrator for Lifespan. Quick note to everyone, just a heads up that we're recording today's session. So here's our learning objectives for the day. We'll start with the multi-language management and cover the available options and approaches that people have taken in REDCap to collect data in more than one language. We'll do this first because the rest of today is all to do with REDCap surveys, and some folks might have attended solely for the language portion today, which should last between about 10 and 15 minutes. Then we'll review how to set up your REDCap project to send surveys to collect data anonymously. We'll briefly cover how to get sent notifications when a participant completes your survey. We'll do a quick review of the survey invitation log. I'll show you the 2 fast, easy tricks to pretty your surveys and show some options for progressing through surveys when one doesn't always lead right into the next. We'll wind down with a review of MyCap, a participant-facing mobile app on the App Store. And we'll compare it and contrast it with the REDCap mobile feature. I've got that asterisk there next to the MyCap because I think it's a particularly exciting new feature, enough that I'd encourage those language folks here to stick around for it. We'll then go over some random survey tips and leave time at the end for Q&A, hopefully. The goal for these presentations is balance, obviously. I'd love for this to be a useful presentation for both the very experienced and as well as the newer users. If there's something I didn't cover today, I don't cover today, that would have been helpful, or if you have any suggestions for future content, please take advantage and share that with us on the feedback survey that you'll all receive after today's presentation. You'll also be receiving the handouts/slides from today's presentation in that same email as the feedback survey, so be on the lookout. All right, managing multiple languages. We'll cover some of the common approaches, strategies, and techniques people have used to administer surveys in more than one language in REDCap. We'll touch on some of the pros and cons of each strategy, and then we'll review the exciting new option available in REDCap. Before going any further, it must be said that Google Translate is insufficient for translating a survey from one language into another. Maybe one day, and maybe soon even, it will be enough, but we're not quite there yet. I have a quick story to help illustrate why you really do need the humans. Here's a clue to help figure out where this is going to be headed. So my friend used to help translate between English and Spanish at a newborn follow-up clinic for some of the moms who didn't speak or understand English too well. Those who spoke no English were provided an official translator, but there were varying degrees of English fluency among the mothers, and my friend would get pulled in away from her data job to help out when appropriate for those moms who didn't receive the official translator. There were also varying degrees of Spanish fluency amongst the American doctors. So she's sitting in on an appointment one day, and the doctor is attempting to convey the baby's symptoms to the mom directly in Spanish. She sees this look of concern and then terror start to develop in the mom's eyes as the moderately fluent in Spanish doctor attempted to translate heartburn, literally, and the mother must have started imagining her her 3-month-old daughter's heart in flames before my friend jumped in to clear the confusion. The doctor had good intentions, wanting to communicate directly with the patient, but unfortunately, a direct translation didn't work in this case. And unless you have that intimate knowledge of another language, you're never going to know if you're butchering the language in a similar way when using Google Translate. On a more serious note, does anyone see the potential harm for a Spanish speaker if they were to see this on the side of a pill bottle, or if the doctor writes this to remind them to take once per dia? All that said, full disclosure, every translation you might see in this presentation today are taken and copy pasted directly from Google Translate, for what it's worth. Okay, let's review the prior options, strategies, and approaches to multi-language management that have been available in REDCap in the past. There was the multilingual external module, which wasn't even available here at Lifespan. You could have a question that asks a participant language preference and then use branching logic based off this to show or hide variables of the appropriate language. 2 or more variables are created per question with this method. The survey queue could be set up the same way and include logic to show the appropriate language surveys to each participant. This will also require at least 1 extra variable created per question per language. And if there's hundreds of questions, this creates hundreds of added fields, complicating any analysis that would follow. You could display questions with multiple language simultaneously, with the questions simultaneously offered one after another inside the same variable. You would have lengthier and messier surveys. They'd be harder to read or comprehend for everyone, but at least there'd be no new variables created. And you could also just create a new project for each language in which you want to administer the survey. This is great because you don't need to create new variable names in each project, but multiple projects creates greater complexity, which is going to complicate analysis. Each strategy comes with its built-in pros and cons. None of them are necessarily right or wrong. Of all of these, the multilingual external module was probably the best, cleanest way to go from the 5 shown here. But let's quickly take a look at the cons for it. External modules aren't created or maintained by REDCap. They are add-on packages of software that can extend REDCap's current functionality, as well as provide customizations and enhancements for REDCap's existing behavior and appearance. In the REDCap external module repository, there's a disclaimer that says, quote, "It should not be assumed that all modules are bug-free or perfect, so please be aware that the entire risk as to the quality and performance of this module, as it is used in your REDCap installation, is borne by the REDCap administrators who download and install the modules." So REDCap is notoriously buggy amongst the research IS folks in charge of its maintenance. You've all might have noticed some downtime recently as an example of this. We don't want to be in a position where something breaks and we can't offer a solution. Rarely do we enable external modules, and we never tried the multilingual module for reasons like this. Exciting news came from the REDCap folks in November of 2021, when they announced that for versions 12.0 or higher, there had been a full integration of the multilingual external module. If you look in REDCap now, for the Lifespan REDCap at least, and Brown too, you'll notice that the multi-language management section is built in, and we all have this gentleman, Gunther, the author of the original external module, and he still works hard on making this available for all of us, so we have him to thank. Thanks, Gunther. Remember, the only cons about this was that it was an external module. But as far as the rest of the things that we were concerned about, this it has a great way of solving them all. So now, rather than it being a mere external module, it's a built-in standard REDCap feature with all the backing and support and security that we love about REDCap. Before getting started, you want to already have your project completely set up. All the fields, the forms, alerts, events, invitations, etc. And just to add a note, this feature doesn't make any translations for you. You will still need reliable and verified translations of any material you want to have translated. Click on the multi-language management link. You can begin by adding languages, which can be done by clicking the green Add a New Language button here. You'll be prompted to enter a language ID and a language display name, and you want to do this for English as well. If you want to have a designated field for storing a participant's language preference, you must match the language IDs with the language choices here in the dropdown. Here we are in the multi-language management page in REDCap. Once you've finished creating the languages for your project, you want to define your default language. The other languages will be a translation of the default. You can now start translating. Click up here or click on the icons over here. You can manage which instruments will be translated in the Forms or Surveys tab. Do you need to translate it into both a data entry form and a survey, or do you just need one or the other? In this case, the data will be entered by someone. The data will never be entered by someone logging into REDCap. Only surveys will be used for data collection, so only surveys will require translation. So you can click in here to start translating the stuff. You can see I've done completed the translations for the 3 of the fields. To translate the remaining field, I provide a translation here and then mark as complete. And then I also would translate the incomplete, unverified, complete translations as well. There's a lot to be translated. You don't necessarily need to do every single one, but once it's done, it's done. Once it's done, you can download it and copy it to a new project, save a file and move that file somewhere else. And it does look really slick. These are just some of the common elements that require translation, just to give you a sense of what's available. But here's what you're left with as the final project when you get this set up. Here we have this language preference field. People can switch between English and Spanish. You choose Spanish, and not only are the questions in Spanish, but the instructions, the title, even the reset in the lower right-hand corner is in Spanish. The button is in Spanish. So this is, I think this is a pretty neat solution to the multi-language problem. You can create as many languages as you want, and you're still collecting data in just one variable. You don't have to create a single extra variable. Okay. All right, that was the language session. We'll move right into the survey portion and start with anonymous surveys, or collecting data in a way that does not link the participant to their answers. This kind of looked to me like a cat who had just sent some surveys and wasn't looking at who the respondent was. So I included it here. Don't need much of a reason to throw in some cat gifs. They only improve my presentations, in my opinion. So all surveys responses collected in REDCap are considered anonymous unless you're using participant identifiers, and obviously something like a participant identifier would no longer be anonymous, but also having the designated email fields available if you're collecting someone's email address. It's no longer anonymous. So that's a little bit obvious. You can add participants anonymously through the participant list in the survey distribution tools. Click on Add Participants, and here is where you'll include all the email addresses for which your survey is intended. You can click on Compose Survey Invitations when you're ready to send them out. So here, I know who I'm sending it to, but when the responses are collected, it becomes nearly impossible to identify which email address is completed, which record. The survey response or anonymity status is always shown here, but keep in mind that it won't know if your survey explicitly asks for things like name and email address. And this could still indicate that your survey is anonymous, even if that was the case. So is this 100% truly anonymous in REDCap? It is anonymous, don't get me wrong. But if you clicked on the question mark where it says, the green question mark where it says survey response status anonymous, in it would be a disclaimer that states, please note that survey responses in REDCap can never truly be considered 100% anonymous, unquote. So here's why. Since I'm only sending this to 3 people, it's pretty easy to find out who record 1 is going to be. I can tell that REDCap record ID 1 is going to belong to the lifespan email addresses. But something like this, if you're not closely monitoring this list here, it does become impossible if you had more than 3 respondents to collect data anonymously. So in most cases, you're fine. You can still call the survey anonymous. It's just that REDCap isn't able to claim that it's 100% anonymous. We'll move right along into survey notifications and briefly cover some of the options for receiving notifications when surveys have been completed. If you wish to be notified by email every time a participant completes a survey, go to the online designer and click survey notifications. Select the users to be notified for each survey by clicking the drop-down and selecting their email address. And this is what the notification is going to look like when someone does a survey. What if you want to be notified only in certain cases, not every single time a survey is completed? For this, you want to set up an alert. Click on alerts and notifications, then click add new alert. And here's where you can add the conditional logic for when it should be sent. Many of you already know that REDCap has a survey invitation log feature. It can be found in the survey distribution tools section and is located on the 3rd tab. The information within the log is straightforward. It can display the survey invitations that have already been sent or have been scheduled to be sent to survey participants. It'll tell you if the participants have responded or not and the date time when they do so. So it's a helpful little tool. Here we have a simple project to demonstrate how the survey invitation log works, kind of in the gritty details. So there's one initial survey. It has an email address field, a hidden date field called date today, which acts as a timestamp to mark when the initial survey was completed. There's also a days 30 text box field, which calculates the date 30 days ago using the calc date action tag. There are also additional surveys to be sent out 30 days after the initial survey has been completed, and we want to use the automated survey invitations to deliver our other surveys 30 days later. So question, when should the automated survey invitation be triggered? Should it be 30 days after the initial survey? And then we'll configure the ASI to send after 30 days. Or should we trigger the ASI immediately as soon as the survey is completed? And then we'll configure the ASI to send after 30 days have passed. Both methods work without issue, but we'll examine how the different approaches between these affect the survey invitation log differently. Really quick here, we'll set up the satisfaction survey to be triggered as soon as the initial survey is completed and then sent out 30 days later. For the follow-up survey, it's also triggered by the initial survey, and we've included some time-based logic to send after 30 days have passed, after which it will send immediately. The second follow-up survey is set up the same way as the first, but instead of being based on the logic of the date underscore today field, it's going to be based on that date days 30 field, which we created to simulate 30 days passing. You'll see what I mean here in a sec. So we create a new record, we complete that initial survey, and hopefully our automated survey invitations have triggered for those 3 surveys. Here's the how the data is stored on the back end after completing the initial survey. You can see our calc date equation for the days 30 variable is working as expected. When we check the survey invitation log now, we only see one of the future invitations listed. And we really, you would think that you'd see the 2 of them there, but only the one that was triggered immediately and then sent to send after 30 days is shown here, and that's scheduled to send 30 days from May 8th. If you would let's see here, if you click on the view past invitations, you'd see that the that third survey had already been sent. It got sent immediately because that same date diff logic had evaluated as true that the difference was greater than or equal to 30 days. So it actually sent this invitation. One invitation was scheduled to be sent. So it's just something to think about. That it can be troubling to some people who want to know for sure that the surveys they've their automated invitations are scheduled to be sent. And what I'm trying to show you here is that you can set up the ASIs completely correctly, and they won't show in the survey invitation log. And it has to do with triggering the survey now and sending after 30 days, or triggering the survey after 30 days and sending immediately. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Next, I want to highlight 2 easy, important steps that can make your surveys look much nicer and more professional with very little effort in a couple minutes. By adding a logo and a custom theme in the survey settings, we can take a survey that looks like this, kind of uninspiring, and make it look like this with just a few clicks, less than 5 minutes. Go from this to this. So you want to click on survey settings and scroll down to survey design options to add your logo. All I did was go to the lifespan home screen and take a screenshot and save it as this lifespan_logo file. Some of the built-in themes are nice. I like this blue skies one. That's one of a favorite of mine. But we wanted something a little more lifespan-y. So you can create your own custom themes by clicking customize and choosing the different colors. And we created this lifespan theme by copying the colors from our website and pasting that what is it, hexadecimal or whatever code into here, the color code to get our nice little nice lifespan-y look. So those two little things can take your kind of bland survey and make it look somewhat nice. All right, moving on. We'll get right into how a participant moves from one survey to another when it isn't so straightforward. We'll review how the survey queue and the new form display logic can help. So here's our example project to demonstrate survey progression in REDCap. The screening survey asks questions about diabetes and also has a checkbox to certify that they're at least 18 years old and they consent. Those who aren't at least 18 should be taken to the ineligible survey, where we'll ask them for permission to contact them in the future. Those who are diabetic should be taken directly to the diabetic follow-up survey. The participant info survey asks a question dealing with pregnancy. Those who say yes should be directed to the pregnancy follow-up survey. And whether diabetic or pregnant or not, all participants should complete the morale questionnaire. So to review, if you're ineligible, you should be taken to the ineligibility survey. And if you're eligible, we want to know if you've been diabetic. If yes, you should be taken to the diabetic follow-up survey, and if not, directly to the participant info survey, where we want to know if you've given birth. If yes, we want you to take the pregnancy follow-up survey. If never given birth, morale questionnaire. So how best to proceed here? REDCap survey queue is a great tool for when you have a situation like this, which requires more advanced conditional logic to control which survey the participant sees next. Surveys can be set to appear in the survey queue based upon if the participant has completed a particular survey, or if certain conditions are met based on data values. From the online designer, click on survey queue to get started. If any surveys have been activated in the survey queue, they will be displayed to the participant after completing a survey. The participant will only need to see in their queue the surveys that they have already completed and the surveys that they are being requested to take next. We didn't need to activate the first survey because it's being sent out as a public survey link. You can choose whether or not to display the survey queue to your participants. When you keep the survey queue hidden, the participant will simply be taken from one survey right into the next, just like the auto continue. The auto start feature is optional and can be used to take the participant immediately to the first incomplete survey in the queue. It allows for more rapid survey taking if the participant is completing several surveys in one sitting and you haven't clicked the keep survey queue hidden button. Here are the remaining instruments required to set up the survey queue for this project. All the logic is actually quite simple and not nearly as complex as it might have seemed in that flowchart. So let's see how it works. Here's our screening survey. We've entered our email address, answered yes for diabetes, and yes, we're eligible. When we click submit, it'll will be brought to this screen here, and we can start right away on the remaining surveys, or we can get a link to the survey queue so we can come back to it later. We can either copy and paste the link or have the survey queue link emailed to us. It's important that the participant doesn't click close survey before getting their link to the survey queue. If they absent-mindedly do click close, they won't have a way of returning, unless maybe they reach out to the study team who would actually have that link they could share with them. Remember that the survey queue and the survey auto continue are mutually exclusive features. If the survey queue is enabled, you'll see this notice in the survey settings. Here it is a little larger. It's important to keep these separate because when meaning the survey queue and survey auto continue, because when something goes wrong, it makes it a lot tougher to troubleshoot. Are things breaking because of the survey auto continue, or are they not behaving the way they should because of the survey queue? Here's what it looks like as we've made our way through each survey in the queue. Having just completed the pregnancy follow-up survey, all that's left is the morale questionnaire. After entering a bunch of fake data, this is what the record status dashboard looks like. If we look at record ID 11, we can assume that they were ineligible because they completed the ineligible survey. Record ID 10 looks like they successfully made it through every survey, so that's great. It's not as obvious what's going on exactly in the other records. For instance, in record ID 3, can we safely assume that they've never been diabetic or pregnant, and that's why those surveys haven't been completed? For records 4 through 7, why are they blank? Were they ineligible and maybe they just gave up? But that's a question I'd like to know. And I don't get the answer just by looking at the REDCap's, the record status dashboard. I'd have to dig a little deeper and look into each specific record to find out answers to those questions. But there is another approach that doesn't use the survey queue and can help answer those questions at a glance. Form display logic is a relatively new REDCap feature released in November 2021 in versions 12.0 and higher. And this is REDCap's official integration of what used to be the form render skip logic external module. So form display logic, it's an advanced feature that provides a way to use conditional logic to disable specific data entry forms that are displayed on the record status dashboard record homepage. You might think of it as form level branching logic, and we'll use it in combination with REDCap's survey auto continue feature. Okay. As most of you likely know, survey auto continue allows you to have separate survey instruments strung together to appear as though they were a single survey to the participant. Here we've enabled the auto continue option for all but the ineligible survey. And next we'll set up the form display logic by clicking here. Getting started, make sure you click enable support for survey auto continue. Without this enabled, the screening survey would auto continue directly to the ineligible survey, regardless if the person was ineligible or not. I just saw a question in there. We'll get to that at the end, just because we're recording. So make sure you enable the support for auto continue. After finishing with the first instrument, you can click the green add another condition button. You set the logic, and then we set the remaining conditions. And just keep clicking add a new condition, add another condition for each one. And the logic here is very, very similar to what it was in the survey queue. Okay. So here, that came out wrong, but anyways, Borat approves. This is what the record status dashboard looks like with form display logic. Now at a glance, we can figure out the answers to those questions we had earlier. For instance, we know that record 18 is fully complete and that the pregnancy and diabetes surveys weren't just somehow overlooked. So this is a pretty nice method. The survey queue is great too. Especially if you have many surveys that couldn't all be completed in one sitting, the survey queue might be preferential. Other survey termination options exist in REDCap. These include either you can redirect the user to a URL when the survey is completed. I don't think a lot of people take advantage of this. Because the default is the survey completion text, but that is an option. Okay, MyCap. MyCap is a mobile application installed on a participant's mobile device, so the participants can complete data collection, instruments, surveys, and other tasks remotely and over a period of time. Contrast with the REDCap mobile app, which is primarily used when an internet connection is unavailable or unstable and this is used by REDCap staff and researchers. They might be going out to the sticks to collect data where there won't be any internet connection. You can use the REDCap mobile app to enter the data on your phone, and then as soon as you get an internet connection again, that data will be synced back into REDCap. But MyCap is different. So MyCap is for the participant. REDCap mobile, only people with REDCap accounts would have an interest in using. MyCap, anyone could use. The MyCap external module was officially integrated into REDCap in November of 2022 on versions 13.0 and higher. So here at Lifespan, this is new within the last 2 weeks. We were on version 12.4 something a couple weeks ago. Now we're on 13.1 something, and MyCap is now built in. It's a freely available participant-facing mobile app, can be installed on iOS and Android devices to capture patient-reported outcomes for any REDCap project. All data completed on a participant's device are automatically and immediately synchronized to REDCap. If data are completed while participants are offline, that data is synchronized when there's an internet connection restored and the app is opened. MyCap cannot be enabled on longitudinal projects, but instead it uses REDCap's infinitely repeating surveys to store its longitudinal data. It features an in-app messaging system between REDCap users and participants, between research staff and participants. When messages are sent to a participant, they receive a push notification on the device saying you have a secure message waiting, and the participant may read the message after opening the MyCap app. If the participant doesn't allow for push notifications, he or she will still be able to read the message, but will not see the notice indicating a new message is available. Additionally, project-wide announcements can be used to send a message to all participants in a project. This is like the message feature. And note that announcements are always visible to all participants, no matter when they join the project. This MyCap decision tree exists. I'm not going to really go over it now, but it'll be included in the handouts sent later if you want to take a closer look. And it's a cool little flow chart of when to use what, when to use which REDCap thingy. You can test out yourself to get a sense of the participant experience using MyCap. Go to the address here to explore further. And you'll be taken to a screen like this. You click begin demo, and you open your MyCap app and scan that barcode, and you can be taken to these demo projects. There are several use cases listed on the Project MyCap website. I'll quickly highlight just a few of them. This use case one, the Mount Sinai Health System launched the COVID-19 Precision Recovery Program in 2020, using MyCap to help with remote patient monitoring. Use case two was a pilot study assessing the efficacy of mobile apps in measuring or encouraging medication adherence. And use case three is pretty neat. A Parkinson's disease identification feature or app. Weill Cornell used MyCap to identify Parkinson's in patients from healthy controls by utilizing the tapping active task, which I'll review in a little bit. To enable MyCap itself in your REDCap project, go to Project Setup, Main Project Settings, and click to enable. This unlocks a new section on the Project Setup page, and the MyCap setup instructions can always be found here. You can click here to get started designing your MyCap app. You'll be prompted to create an about page, and you can click the preview button to see what it's going to look like on the mobile device. This is a screenshot of my that I took on my 3-year-old Samsung Galaxy. There's also a contacts tab where you can add contact info. No preview is available for this section for some reason, so here's how it looked on my phone. There's a links tab to include links you want to share with the participant. Here's the links page. And when you click on each of these links, it's actually kind of pretty cool. Here's the Webb telescope picture of the month, and it opens right in the app, and you can explore the site. And when you want to return to the app, you just click the back arrow here. And here's the quote of the day. There's also a theme tab to customize the colors. REDCap instruments are called MyCap tasks when they've been enabled in the project. The first instrument in a project cannot be enabled for MyCap because it is used to create the participant record, which must exist first to generate participants' unique MyCap access information, like the QR code. If participants will be emailed their invitation to join the MyCap project, it's recommended capturing the participant's email address in the first instrument. If MyCap tasks will be triggered based on a participant-specific event, such as a surgery date, clinic visit, discharge date, a text field with the date validation must be included in the first instrument, or another instrument that will not be enabled for MyCap. I want to quickly also bring your attention and ask you to notice the number of fields in the Dream Journal, the 6 fields here. On the next page, we'll explore what happens after we click the Enable button to enable the Dream Journal as a MyCap task. This Setup MyCap task page appears with the notice shown here. The notice is regarding the 7 fields that get added automatically. And here they are. Here are those 7 fields that get added. So notice now that there's 13 fields in the Dream Journal, and it's been enabled as a MyCap task. And there's a new MyCap settings section, and here's how the app looked on my phone after enabling the rest of the instruments. So you could imagine for this anxiety journal, anytime you feel anxious, you pick up the phone, click plus, and enter, basically you're entering a repeatable data into a repeatable survey. The MyCap participant management section has 4 tabs: a participants tab, messages tab, app sync issues, and a help tab. To start inviting participants, click here. Participants can join your project on the MyCap mobile app using a QR code and/or a hyperlink that is unique to them and their record in your REDCap project. A participant's record must already exist in the REDCap project in order for them to be able to get a QR code or link. Active tasks are a cool feature. I mentioned the tapping earlier. Here, for instance, in this tapping task, the user rapidly alternates between tapping 2 targets on the touch screen. The resulting touch data can be used to assess basic motor capabilities such as speed, accuracy, and rhythm. Secure text messaging can be done between you and the participant. Here's what it looks like in REDCap when you've received a message from the participant. If you click on the magnifying glass there, you'll be brought to the screen where you can see I responded. How can we help you to that test message? All right, we're coming to the end now. Just some other tips for surveys. Adding progress bars. You can try creating a new REDCap project from a template and use this progress bar template to create a new project in your own REDCap In doing so, you can kind of explore how these progress bars are made, and then start sort of hacking them to kind of make them in your own way. And here, you can see this is the code you see in this project template. If you when you dig into it, this is the field label, but what we see is the progress bar. And you get to learn like how things are set up and how to sort of change things if you want. So cool little way to add progress bars. Now, this is just a personal preference, but I like using the left vertical alignment throughout the surveys I create, especially when there's a particularly lengthy question. I feel like it can appear bunched up over on the left-hand side. The left vertical alignment, and just my opinion, it seems like it gives more room to allow for easier reading. But actually, more importantly than whether it's on the left or the right-hand side is to keep it consistent throughout the entire survey. You don't want the participants searching for, like, their eyes looking for, you want them to know ahead of time where to look to click the buttons. The vertical layout here is preferential to the horizontal layout. And this is pretty much true whenever there's more than two answer choices. The left horizontal layout looks okay, but I could imagine someone wanting to select New Hampshire and incorrectly checking the box shown here. The right horizontal layout is just wrong. We can all agree that's as bad as it can get. And this next one is actually a little more than just a personal preference. Here we have the exact same question with the two different field types, radio buttons on top and the drop-down box below. To answer this question with the drop-down box requires 2 clicks, one to open, and then you have to choose, then you have to move the mouse and make your selection. Versus the radio buttons, you can read the choices without clicking anything, and with 1 click you can make your selection. So if you have 100 questions, that time and effort is going to add up. You want to make your surveys as easy as possible for your participants to complete, so requiring 1 click instead of 2 by using the radio buttons over drop-down lists is an easy thing you can do. There are times when you do want the drop-down list. Suppose you had a list of the 50 states. You wouldn't want that taking up the entire page in REDCap. So when there's dozens of choices, the drop-down list is the way to go. If there isn't dozens of choices, go with the radio buttons. Some of the beginners may not know about the enhanced radio buttons in REDCap. This can be turned on in the survey settings here. Here's our favorite question again about favorite New England state with the different layouts. There's really not a bad choice here. Actually, all 4 of them look pretty nice. And this is this feature is called Enhanced Radio Buttons, found in the survey settings. Be careful with survey titles. So I have a 30-day follow-up survey. I want to copy it and make a 90-day survey as well. So click there, click copy, call it 90-day follow-up surveys, attach that V2, copy instruments. Okay, here's the survey settings for my new 90-day instrument, and you can see the survey title has not updated. So this can be confusing when you're looking to send the 90-day survey. You go to compose invitations and it just says 30-day survey. It's because it's showing you the survey title and you need to update it. Some quick reminders for using calculations in REDCap. There's 3 types of calculation outcome. The outcome can be a text, a date, or a number. So use a text box field with the calc text action tag, and the outcome should be text. Same thing with calc date. If the outcome of your calculation is a date, use calc date. So that's going to calculate a date 7 days in the future. If you put -7, it would be 7 days in the past. If you put 7 and then it changed the D to a Y, that would be 7 years in the future. And when the outcome is a number, go ahead and just use the REDCap calculated field type. And here's an example of converting inches to centimeters. We're just about finished now. If you ever want a more in-depth discussion about your particular REDCap project, you can schedule a one-on-one meeting with me whenever you like. To do so, you can go to our website, www.lifespanbird.org. Click on Schedule with Core Faculty and Staff, Data Management Consultation with me, Jeff, at a time that's convenient. Brown Advance-CTR also has a bird core, and they also have offer consultations with experienced folks. So if you're here from Brown, you can do the same through here. So that's the end of today's presentation. Thanks everyone who made it this far. We'll open it up now to the questions and answers, and I'll read the ones in the chat first. Again, if there was something that you were hoping I'd cover, but I didn't, please reach out and let us know. Either reach out to me directly, or include that feedback in the follow-up surveys. Okay. Let's see. Thank you, everybody. All right, all right, Sarah Ryan. Is there a way to see how long it takes for a participant to answer, where you would be able to download the data to compare it to other participants? I believe you can see the time completed for a survey when you go directly into their record at the top, but is there any other place this could be accessed? Yes, this is possible. Sarah, we're running a little low on time. I don't know the answer off the top of my head, but let me put my email address. No, I'll put the let's see, here it is. Reach out to me at redcapsupport@lifespan.org if you're watching still, and we can figure that out. Let's see. Thank you for the nice comments, everybody. Okay, let's see. Does anyone have does anyone want to pipe up and just unmute themselves and have any questions? Otherwise, again, thanks for attending, everybody. We're going to be putting our summer schedule up soon, as soon as possible. And yeah, so if there aren't any questions in the next minute or so. Oops. All right, yeah, thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for coming today.